allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's remain standing. Our Heavenly Father, as we start this new year, we want to thank you for bringing us together. Grant us the wisdom to do your will. Open our hearts to listen to each other, and the courage, give us courage to act with integrity. Guide our discussions, guide our decisions, so that we may serve this community and continue to do your will. Then, Lord, I ask that you look over the Stevenson family. Our community lost former councilman William Stevenson, who's your child. We ask that you watch over his family, keep them safe, let them understand that he's gone on to be with you. These and all other things, I ask in your son Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
All right, we'll begin with our number 3A, which is approval of minutes for the January 5th, 2016 council meeting.
I make a motion to approve the January 5th, 2026 council meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next is 3B, which is the January 12th, 2026 comprehensive plan workshop minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve January 12th, 2026 comprehensive plan workshop minutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. All right, so for citizens' comments, we have one person signed up to speak. I'll remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak to us, and please direct all comments to council. The first person is, the only person is Paul Williams. If you'll come forward. If you'll state your name and address.
Paul Williams, 3801 Lando Road, Lando, South Carolina. Thank you all for letting me come out here today. My name is Paul Williams. I am the acting president at the Lando Banana Mills History Center. I've been in Lando for over 25 years, but been president working with them for the last 8 years down there. My history goes back. I was raised in Cabarrus County with Cannon Mills, grew up with textiles, and then when I was working out this way, my territory was Blacksburg to Sherrall, so I was doing history through the whole time, and somebody turned me on to the old Lando schoolhouse. So went there and looked at it and started working with Ollie Hefner, and just kind of grew since then. There early on with Joe Lanford had it, and the transformation from them to the Lando Investment Group. One thing about Lando is the history's there. That's why it kept me there. The old schoolhouse, the museum building, and it's history going back to the Revolutionary War. So there's a lot there to offer that's kept my interest and kept the interest of the people that grew up there. There's been 5 generations of people. Unfortunately, now the the legacy is getting thinner, and Lando has changed from their time to what it is now. A lot of people always talk about the way it was, and that's why we're there as a history center, to show people and the families that existed in Lando from the past. So we've come to the point now where we got to go through a change. So working with the owners, we've been able to maintain our museum in there, and we've been helping preserve the village and the historic schoolhouse and the grounds around Lando. So what I'm here is to plead that what they're looking to do in the village is inevitable. Been watching some of the videos online that Mr. Hester and Mr. Ward have been putting out there, and they're talking about the growth and the planned growth. Well, the planned growth is here. That Highway 901 corridor from Richburg all the way to the county line is growing. And the concept of urban sprawl, this is actually the residential corridor we're looking at down through there. So kind of the focused growth. It's a good plan. It's what Lando will need to survive. We need some, like I said, we just needed to help keep the legacy going. We are looking at, in our organization, preserving the schoolhouse and the grounds around it and our museum building. And that has all been through the generosity of the Lando Investment Associates since we've been there. We existed at their graces for the many, many years we've been down there. And I always tell those folks, I appreciate what y'all allow us to do in Lando. We've been able to do a lot of things under their guidance and working with them, but the preservation of us and the preservation of the History Center and everything all relies on the future development. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right, next up is, we don't have a public hearing tonight, so next up is 6A, which is the first reading of ordinance 2026-02, entitled only, authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Chester County and Project 2493, designating certain real property located in Chester County as part of a multi-county industrial park, providing credits against fee in lieu of tax payments, authorizing the execution and delivery of a project agreement by and between Chester County and Project 2493, authorizing the execution and delivery of such documents as may be necessary to effect the intent of this ordinance, and providing for other matters relating thereto. If council's okay with it, I'll call forward Mr. Kozlarek to come forward and speak, and also Ms. Davison.
Chairman, members of council, good evening. Just as a reminder, the inducement resolution for this project was adopted by council in August of last year. Sounds strange to say that, I almost said this year. In 2025, just to be clear. This is a $25 million investment. The inducement provided for a 6% fee in lieu of tax with a 10-year investment window, fixed millage rate, and a 60% credit for each of the first 10 fee in lieu of tax payments. That's sort of where the initial description of a project we would sort of end, and then I'd answer questions. The one additional substantive wrinkle that I see, and obviously Ms. Davis can speak to this, it also includes the sale of property in one of the county's industrial parks to the project. That would be approximately 29 acres at $10,000 per acre. There would be up to an additional 10 acres that would be provided to the project for stormwater detention or retention, depending on how they needed to organize that, at no cost to the project. So 29 developable acres plus or minus at $10,000 per acre, plus up to an additional 10 acres for stormwater. That would be at no cost. The property is located at 5335 Richburg Road, which, as I learned at the last council meeting, is probably not very helpful to just give an address. That is where the Insurance Institute, it's the same industrial park with the Insurance Institute, so that'll fix that in everybody's mind. Again, those are the substantive aspects. The last piece is this is a developer of that property, so the intent is that they would develop the infrastructure and then encourage actual operating companies to come and invest on that 29 plus or minus acres. And so the initial $25 million that they are anticipating investing is for the infrastructure and for buildings, at least the initial building, and there would potentially be additional buildings after that. Again, happy to answer questions, but this was induced in August of last year.
All right, we also have our Assistant Economic Development Director, Karen Davison, with us today. You have anything as well?
Thank you. Good evening, Council and Chairman Wilson. I just wanted to add that this is going to be about total, when you build out the whole parcel, it could be around 300,000 square feet. There is a item in the agreement that Michael's been working on that requires that the company build at least one 25,000 square foot building within the first 18 months. So that's just something important to remember. And again, this is the Chester R&D Park that the county has owned land at since the early 2000s. So yeah, happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
Correct me if I'm wrong as well, just to remind council that the sale of this land's proceeds would go to match for water and sewer, is that correct, a grant?
So we
that-
actually did not get that grant.
We did not, okay,
But that was the intention initially.
okay, thank you.
So to be clear, the sale of these, the proceeds from the sale will go where?
They'll go into a fund that you all will decide what those funds are used for. My intention to come back to council at some point is when we sell county land, which, as you all know, we have quite a bit that I've been working on marketing. So when we sell that land, it would go into a fund that would allow us to purchase in the future, other land that might be needed, such as for a law enforcement center or other things like that, municipal complex, when we need that land.
I know it's not, I think it's a very good project. I don't like the fee in lieu of tax, so I'm not gonna vote for it. But for the sake of argument, it's a real good project. But if we're gonna sell this, we need to figure out how to work with Great Falls and get that sewer line active from that particular project, because there's a pump station on that property and the line's already in the ground. So we need to be figuring out if are we gonna put that money that we're gonna get off of this project into that to try to help Great Falls get storage, or are we gonna spend that money someplace else?
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern for the park. I think one advantage of this project, they're gonna be using septic sewer
Well,
there.
I understand that, I got that covered, but if you're gonna make money off of this, then we ought to invest that money, in John Agee's opinion, in that sewer line and that pump station, which would make that property more valuable and work and help Great Falls with their sewer system down there.
Absolutely, that's something that we'd definitely be happy to discuss with council if that's something that you would like to put those dollars towards. We actually did apply for a grant at the state level. Late last year, we found out we did not get the grant from the state, but we did get estimates on what it would cost. So if you do have an interest in understanding how much it would cost to get that sewer system in place, we have some accurate information to share on that too.
And I think once this project is up and running, it'll increase our ability to potentially get future grants, and we can use that as match money again. Council can decide how we use that money, but, you know, it is something that they're working on with Great Falls, but.
And if a large project were to also land somewhere in the Chester R&D Park, that could also qualify for funding from Department of Commerce as an incentive. So there's a few different avenues to go about it. We're trying. It's definitely something we've been focusing on.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion from council?
I make a motion we approve the first reading of ordinance 2026-02, title only.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, so that passes 6-1. Next up is 6B, which is the first reading of ordinance 2026-3, in title only, approving the execution and delivery of a development agreement between the county and Lando Investment Associates, LLC, and Fishing Creek Associates, LLC, resolving civil action number 2025-CP-12-000014, and providing for other related matters. Again, I would ask Mr. Kozlark to come forward and our planning director, Mr. Ward, to be ready to come forward too.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, before I make some remarks about this, I do want to remind council that this is active litigation involved in this project. Obviously, representatives from the company and their counsel are here tonight. So although that should not change anything from a discussion standpoint, my comments will probably be a little bit more circumspect simply because I don't want anything that I say here tonight to potentially impact that. Besides, Mr. Ward's comments are going to be much more entertaining and useful as far as the substance of this. What I will remind council of is at some point in the past, there were some discussions with the developer about the use of the property that we're discussing that's out in Lando. There's also some recreation property out on that same site or in that same general area that became the subject of some disagreement between the county and the developer. As a result of those discussions and disagreements, litigation ensued. That litigation has been ongoing for some time. As part of all litigation, there are invariably some type of either mediation or settlement discussions without a third-party mediator. In this case, the development group and the county have had a number of very productive, non-mediated, so there was no third party there, settlement discussions. Throughout the course of that, council has been kept informed. And of course, Mr. Ward, Mr. Hester, Ms. Workman, and myself, along with their legal counsel and their development team, have come back to council at this point to present a possible resolution which would include the development of that parcel, or those parcels, the transfer of that recreation property back to the county, which would alleviate concerns with the soil and water conservation folks, and also would, of course, then completely resolve the lawsuit. Mr. Ward is going to present what that development resolution would look like, because again, from the legal perspective, the dismissal of the lawsuit is a fairly easy thing to do if the parties can agree on what happens to the property. So I'm happy to answer as much as I can answer about active litigation in an open session, but otherwise, Mr. Ward's going to come and I think present what the plan would look like.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ward?
Chairman Wilson, County Council, thank you for having me here this evening. As Mr. Kozlowski mentioned, I'm here to talk about the substance of this plan for the Lando Village PD. So I'll give a quick summary. I'll hit the highlights of what this development agreement includes, all of the specifics of this plan. And if you have questions, please interrupt me, and you can also ask questions at the end too, of course. So let me give a quick highlight of this Lando Village PD. As mentioned, the core of this was rezoned approximately 15 years ago. So I will reiterate, this is not a new subdivision brought forward for rezoning. This is broken down into three phases. There's what we're calling Walker's Mill North, which is adjacent to the existing Walker's Mill. This section has approximately 310 single-family homes and would be identical, similar to the existing Walker's Mill. The majority of this PD, plan development, would be Lando Village. Lando Village is located, as Mr. Williams said earlier, around the existing Lando area. The owners own virtually the entire Lando Village area, to include, as mentioned, the park that used to be a county park, the museum, the school, the entire road system. All that is owned and part of this planned development, with the exception of some of the churches there. So this Lando Village portion would comprise approximately 160 single-family homes, 100 duplexes, 150 townhomes, and importantly, 9 or more commercial buildings. I'll talk more about that later. In other words, as you can see by this is a true mixed-use town center in the Lando Village, the likes of which we have not had in Chester County to this point. Finally, there's a small out parcel that, for simplicity's sake, we are calling Lando East. Plans for this are fluid, but would consist of either roughly 90 single-family homes or 150,000 square feet of commercial, i.e. a shopping center or something similar. So that is the outline of this project as currently stands. In total, it would be about 910 dwelling units, roughly 1,820 new residents in this area. It encompasses 194 acres between Lando Village and Lando East, and 179 acres in Walker's Mill North. Let me hit on some of the key details or facets of this plan that we have been working on over the past months. So first of all, I think this is very, very important, and this is what a lot of our discussion centered on. Council spent a lot of time, council and in the Planning Commission last year spent a lot of time working on the new subdivision regulations. Y'all spent many hours, workshops, putting a lot of thought and care into these to be sure that they reflected the will of the county. And I'm happy to report that this plan is very compatible with these new subdivision ordinances. In other words, County Council has chosen to set regulations for subdivisions at this level, and this subdivision is not coming in way underneath it. They are matching substantively what the county has put forward in the new subdivision regulations. I'll hit on a few of these architecture. The The plans currently call for all the homes to be stone or hardy board or brick or some combination thereof. All of the commercial buildings in the town center will be all brick. All of the garages on the homes will be flush or recessed with the front facade, so you're not going to have your garage sticking way out in front of the house for every single house. All the single-family homes will have 3 off-street parking spaces in line with the subdivision codes. I'll also note the open space. There'll be a minimum of 20% open space with this PD. In reality, I think it'll be far higher. There will be sufficient buffers from the road, similar to Walker's Mill. There will be private waste management as part of the HOA for all the homes in the subdivision, meaning that there's not going to be a strain on the county recycling center located in Lando as a result of these new people. There will be 5-foot sidewalks throughout the subdivision, 5 feet. And this is unusually wide compared to what we have, but it is in line with our new subdivision regulations and what other counties are moving to. 5-foot sidewalks with a 6-foot planting strip in between the sidewalk and the road with street trees every 40 feet on center. You'll recall that the citizens of the county, when we did the workshops, they said that walking throughout the neighborhood safely was a top priority for them. They wanted to feel safe when they walked, for children especially. This would accomplish that. It also has an impressive amount of parks and recreation planned that matches our subdivision code requirements, to include a swimming pool and clubhouse, pickleball courts, possibly some tennis courts as well, and a 1.5-mile walking trail that loops all the way throughout Lando Village. It meets our county road specs as well. It does have a town center. This was a key part of the original plan brought for rezoning 16 years ago at this point, and this is continued in this plan. So it has a traditional town center and a grid with all brick buildings. We have set some limitations on what can be located there. For instance, vape shops will not be allowed. Some limitations on other types of businesses. I think this will be a true area that people will come for miles around to come to. Parking will be consolidated behind the town center buildings. There'll also be a town green or an event green where events, festivals, music can be held as part of that. Next, Mr. Williams alluded to the preservation of historical features. I'm speaking for myself here. I believe that Lando and the history behind Lando is one of the more unique stories in all of South Carolina, particularly in Chester County. It is of the utmost importance that this history be preserved and passed on for future generations. And this plan would accomplish that. It would save the Lando Museum and pass it on to the Lando Minetta Mills History Center, Inc. It would save the school as well, and we hope for renovation for that in the future as part of a separate project. So we're very excited about the preservation of the history here. Importantly, they will also donate land to the county and other entities to provide the needed public services to serve these residents. In total, this would be 23.75 acres across a variety of sites, 19 acres for the Chester School District for school purposes. There'll be a 3.5 acre site for a new fire and EMS station. The Lando Park site that has held us up from pursuing grants for a number of years. That would be a major win for the county as a whole to reclaim ownership of that. And also 1.5 acres for a county building site in the town center for a potential county use. And finally, the development agreement fee. We've worked with them on this, and they will be contributing the normal fee that the county charges for all planned developments and subdivisions and has for some time, which is $5,000 per dwelling unit. Notably, much of this would be front-loaded, meaning that the county will be able to effectively use these funds to pay for the construction of a brand-new fire and EMS station up front without tapping in to significant other resources to help service the residents in this area and keep ISO ratings low. Let me also address 2 key concerns that have been brought up throughout this process that I want to put before council. First of all is wastewater. So obviously the rezoning for this came before CCTA 2303, which was passed by council in 2023, which said that the number of units shall not exceed the guaranteed allotment for service of water and wastewater. This rezoning happened before then. It does not need to be rezoned. But we did put language in the development agreement that we believe sufficiently addresses the nature of this text amendment. In other words, it says that construction will begin within 18 months after commitment on sewer allocation, and also that the water and sewer service infrastructure will be implemented on a schedule consistent with the development of the property. In other words, they will be treated roughly the same functionally as the other subdivisions and plan developments that have come to council. The subdivision will not be built out until they have the allocation from the sewer and water, and this should work out very well. The school, as you know, there have been some issues and some concerns about capacity within the Louisville School District. So they have been working independently with the school system for roughly the past 12 months. This is an independent process from the county as the Chester School District is an independent entity. But they have worked with them to address their concerns. They've pledged a 19-acre site for school purposes. I think those conversations are ongoing. I'll also note that the full build-out of Lando Village, if it moves forward, would not be complete for 9 to 10 years. So all of these new students will not be coming in all at once. I believe that this would give the Chester School District sufficient time to fully create and actuate a plan for increasing capacity in that area. Thank you for your time. That's all of my presentation. I'm here if you have any questions regarding this project.
All right, does council have questions?
The other day at the workshop we had when Ms. Snipes, the superintendent, was here, and Ms. Thomas and Ms. Funderburk. Louisville High School has 430-something students right now, which is max, which is close. The only way the school system can get any money to build is a bond referendum, and that's failed 4 times. I'm all for this. I'm not against this. But somewhere along the line, there's got to be some communication here to build some schools. It's nice of them giving an X amount of land, but if there's no money to build a school, it's just land. So we had a nice conversation with those folks the other night up here. So we got to keep working to make this work if we're going to do that with the school system.
So,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Agent, I'm glad you brought that up. So we do have a workshop planned for February the 8th? 9th, close. February the 9th. And they're going to be our guest here, and they're going to speak to us then, so.
Well, I
we're
mean,
really
we
looking
got to
forward
work
those
on that,
conversations.
just like wastewater, what I was saying a while ago about Great Falls. The Great Falls sewer treatment facility is the only one in this county that has the ability to treat a large amount of wastewater. Sandy River and Rocky Creek are not compatible to do that. And so we're shipping our sewage to Rock Hill, and we're shipping our sewage to Lancaster County. So we need to be working and trying to figure out how we can get some kind of working agreement with Great Falls and help them with what they need down there in doing this.
Yes, sir, Mr. Agee. I absolutely hear your concern and share it. We want our public schools to be as high quality as possible and have room to educate our children. And I'm excited for the workshop on February 9th. I also can say that under the current administration and leadership at the school, I think you'll see a lot more communication, joint planning, and partnership moving forward.
But the other thing, I didn't really hear him real well. Mr. Williams, is that his name?
Yes, sir.
Is he satisfied with this?
I believe he is, was my indication.
All right, is there any more questions for Mr. Ward? All right, so before we have more of a discussion, I would see if there was a motion from council.
Make a motion, we approve the first reading for ordinance 2026-03 entitled.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve this first reading. Is there discussion?
I would just like to say, to kind of follow up with Mr. Williams' comment, my family, the Mosley name is in the Lando History Center. Of course, I married into that family, but it's my child's family too. So I'm all about history and preserving and you know, I look forward to that as well, it being taken care of, looked after, not forgotten. I don't think it serves anybody well to forget, you know, where we came from and how we started. So I just kind of wanted to give that little plug. There's a lot of friends and family and people that are still around here that have a connection to that Lando Center. My father-in-law actually grew up over there. The houses are gone now, but he grew up in that area. So it's very special to see, and I actually rode my daughter through there the other day. And, you know, so I just wanted to say that. I do appreciate that, and I think this is although it's a change, but it's a nice vision for the future, because the future's happening. So thank you.
Is there anything else? I want to thank our county staff and developers and everyone for the conversations they've had. I know there's been a lot of back and forth conversations, and I think we have a product here that is a good product. So with that, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of this first reading of ordinance 2026-3 in title only, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Next up, we have 6C, which is Resolution 2026-3, authorizing the transfer of certain personal property and providing for other related matters. Attorney Workman?
I'll speak to it if you don't,
Oh, sorry.
if you don't
All right.
mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So as always, when we dispose of county property that is, the initial value was more than $5,000, we come to council for approval in the form of a resolution. And so if you see your attachment with those items, there's a vacuum cleaner. And yes, it was a vacuum cleaner that was worth more than $5,000 for the Gateway Center. Hasn't been used in years. Doesn't really work in the corridors out there. Gateway Conference Center dance floor. The dance floor is original floor purchased when the building was first built, and it is outdated life. There's a Honda four-wheeler that used to be used to drag fields in the past. It's not operable and can't be fixed anymore. We will get money for it, however, on the online auctions. And then an old Public Works skid steer that we found in an old building that it was one of the wheeled, not a track skid steer. But the cost to repair that at this point is way greater than the worth of it. We have two other working skid steers, well, that need repairs sometimes too. But so those are the items that we intend to sell.
Right, thank you. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we approve the resolution 2026-03.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. All right, Mr. Hester, the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me start out with the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Fund Board. Chester County has been awarded again this year for the 2026 SCORE funding, $220,420 for that opioid recovery SCORE funding. And that'll support the county's progress in addressing the opioid crisis, as we have for the past 2 years previously with those funds. These funds will be used for expansion to include prevention, treatment, and recovery services. I think we actually talked about this. Ms. Gibson came in and spoke to you guys maybe a month or two back as well, what we would be using those funds with, or for, I'm sorry. New initiatives that they anticipate this year: improving medication-assisted treatment, counseling, and reentry services, launching school-based opioid prevention programs, which I think is fantastic. They've been working with the school board and the school superintendent, continually obtaining real-time overdose data through the rapid toxicology testing that our coroner and some of our first responders have, and then additionally embedding a peer support specialist in the MUSC emergency room department. Will improve what they call a warm handoff to treatment to ensure that those people are getting information and help with treatment. These efforts are designed to reduce the overdose deaths, improve access to care, and ensure timely coordinated response. Together, the proposed initiatives leverage existing partnerships with our SCORE funding and the Hazel Pittman Center and Chester County and the Sheriff's Office and our Coroner's Office. So it's nice to see that we're continuing to receive those funds. I will say that Kristen Gibson with Hazel Pittman is the administrator for the county. We elected her to administer those funds. She's got the best, she's in the best position to do that for the sheriff and I, and she's done a fantastic job. When I go to county conferences and different things with Association of Counties and municipalities throughout the state, we never lack for filling our paperwork out properly, on time, and getting our information in. When there's counties out there that actually lose their funding because they don't follow through with that. So we have a great resource in Kristen and her work that she does and the way they use these funds. And so I just thought it was great to report that we have another $220,000 this year. Next, Mr. Killian, I talked to you briefly about last week, but we were able, well, I say we, it was all Devin and her team back there. Were able to, I know that they worked really hard on the rail company and DOT on York Street and Forest Avenue over by the church. And I know when we rode by there the other day, we actually saw some work being done, some ditches had already been cleaned out, some culverts cleaned out. But DOT's agreed to fix that for us. And I know that's been a long, I almost think we've been dealing with that for about 14, 18 months, something like that. You've been in my ear about that. So thank Ms. Bagley for getting that done for you.
Thank you.
Persistence
Really
is what
appreciate it.
She said your persistence made her be persistent. So
Thank y'all.
the 2026 Spring Citizens Academy is now open for enrollment. Please encourage people to join, sign up. The program offers residents a unique opportunity to learn more about Chester County government, including how departments operate, how services are delivered, and decisions are made. During this 10-week program, participants will attend a Chester County Council meeting. They'll take part in behind-the-scenes on-site sessions with key county departments, including Public Works, EMS, Fire Services, Sheriff's Office, just to name a few. It will conclude with a graduation ceremony and a free dinner. It is free, of course. The program, and any questions about the program and enrollment can be sent to our communications officer, Morgan Shirley. Her information can be found on the county website, but please, I encourage you to encourage your friends, encourage anyone you know to sign up. It is a very worthwhile program. And then I know on everyone's mind is the National Weather Service and all the forecasting for a winter storm that could bring a mix of snow and ice this weekend starting on Saturday. I've noticed that my phone and the weather has changed about 6 times today, so I'm not going to hold my breath on anything. But just for council to know, Chester County Emergency Management is monitoring the storm, and they'll provide updates and forecasts to our residents and to council. Public Works is already preparing. We have meetings today to talk about the storm, and we encourage residents to prepare and do the same. For the latest information, please follow us on Chester County Facebook page for updates on all the information related to this from our Emergency Management Department. Kind of jumping to something different real quick. Highway 9, high mast lighting is repaired, and I know that a couple of you all have gotten with me about that, but I got word today that the high mast lights have been repaired. If you see them out again, please let us know. And there is a work order. We're following up on the work order with Duke Power regarding the lights on Highway 9. They seem to be having trouble locating that work order today, so we're making sure that that work order is found, and the work on, I believe there was about 9 lights on Highway 9. So we are responsible for the high mast. Duke Power is responsible for the lights on Highway 9 and the exit ramps. But again, the easiest way is to let us know. Call Adelma over at Public Works or call Callie, my assistant, and we'll make sure it gets routed to the right place if you guys see any of them out.
You said something about Mr. Killian, reminded me, I had a phone call the last day or two, and I went over to the library. If you could get Ms. Bagley to look at the road going into the library and the parking lot, there are several large potholes in there that
One in Richburg or the one in downtown?
Louisville at
Okay,
Richburg.
okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
look at that, I'd appreciate it.
We sure will. And in fact, just for your knowledge and rest of councils, we are evaluating our parking lots as well as our buildings and sort of scoring them out. And that'll be some capital, probably part of our capital improvements to resurface some parking lots because we have to do that. That's a maintenance program as well. So we will take a look at it. Yes, sir. And then the last thing that I have for you all is I will be attending the South Carolina City and County Managers Conference Wednesday through Friday. And the county attorney will also be away attending her bar conference where she has to get her CLEs to stay in good standing with the bar to be do the job she does for us. So we will both be gone the same time while we are out. Mike Levister will be the point of contact and will be in charge. I have given him that responsibility and I'm fully confident in his ability to take care of things while I'm gone. And so with that, that concludes my administrator's report.
Kind of related, but a little unrelated. You can answer this question for me. I got a call about it. Ballpark Avenue, there's a bridge work is being done on it between 22 and 216. And some citizens are concerned because there's a railroad track on the other side of that bridge and the train sits on that track. If for some reason the train sits on that track and the bridge is out, the citizens are concerned about if there's an emergency, how would they leave their home? Can you look into that for me and find out, Miss Devon, find out if you guys can get in contact with the train service, let them know what's going on because that is a valid concern.
Absolutely. And I think I saw that one come out this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. Was it, did you get the call today?
I did get the call today.
Yeah,
a citizen called me today about it.
That report from DOT about that work came out this afternoon. So you may not have seen it yet, Ms. Bagley, but if you'll take a look at that tomorrow, and then I do think that's a valid. And generally, if we just contact the rail companies and let them know that all that's coinciding together, we can come up with a plan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chester. Next up, we have number 8 on our agenda. That's the consent agenda. 8A is the third reading of ordinance 2025-15. 8B is the second reading of ordinance 2026-01. 8C is the second reading of CCMA 25-39. D is the second reading of CCTA 25-17.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve a consent agenda.
Second.
All right, have a motion and second to approve. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Thank you. All right, we don't have any old business, so that takes us to new business. 10A, we are going to get a department update from our assessor, Rick Anderson.
Well, Chairman Wilson and members of the County Council, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you. The last time I talked to you, we were on the cusp of the 2025 reassessment. I kind of gave you an overview of what our intent was and the purpose or the reason for doing a countywide reassessment. And I'm happy to come to you here at the tail end where we're wrapping up everything for 2025 and kind of give you a summary of what we set out to do and our assessment of the 2025 reassessment. In my opinion, the 2025 reassessment went very well. Anytime you go through a county and you reappraise every piece of property, there's always some anxiety. Does your model work? We run as much validation as we can. We test. We try to do everything we can to make sure that the numbers that we assign to properties, and again, we don't look at every single property. We use a mass model, but we do everything we can to try to validate and make sure those numbers are credible. So I'm happy to say, we do submit our information to the Department of Revenue. They do approve it before we do our reassessment. But with a few exceptions, we were very pleased with the valuation and the reassessment values. We sent out notices in mid-August. That's a little bit later than we planned to, but we did some additional valuation and had to kind of resolve a couple of issues. But then When we did send out the notices, people had a period of 90 days to appeal. If they had any disagreement, they contacted our office. We probably had in the neighborhood of about 10% or close to 2,500, and I'm calling them soft appeals. It wasn't a written argument or a dispute, but it was questions related to why did my property value change? I tore down a garage. Did your new assessment reflect that? Or just explain to me what's going on. There were more inquiries. And because we don't do reassessment but every 5 years, a lot of people just aren't familiar with what the notice means when they get it in the mail, understand what that means, and to understand a little bit about the purpose and the value. So having 10% of the property owners call and request information, explanation, I think is a very reasonable number. We processed 235 formal written appeals where they filled out information. They disagreed with the assessment, they disagreed with the value or something, and they progressed to a written complaint where they would provide information. We would review the information they gave us. We would look at the information we have a conference, go over the information, and then come up with a reconciliation. We have resolved all of those by the end of the year. We have 8 that want to go to our Board of Assessment appeal over disagreements on the assessment. We'll schedule hearings in February to try to have those hearings before the board. But again, I think those numbers were very, very complimentary for the process that we implemented this year. And when I was hired in early 2021, Chester County was supposed to have implemented in 2020. They had already delayed 1 year. And so we made a decision at that point that we would go ahead and implement in 2021 and then gave us 4 years to do the best job we could for 2025. And I feel like that was a well-researched plan. It went very well. I have to give a lot of credit to the staff of the assessor's office. It's a lot of work. It's not a 1-year project. We've been working on this for 4 years. There's a tremendous amount of review, updating information. We're working from records that are 20, 30 years old, as long as we've been keeping property records, converting from paper records to digital records. So the process is daunting to try to do as thorough a job as possible as in that period of time. We targeted some significant areas that I thought were under reviewed in prior years. One of the issues was very large tracts of land. We tried to go through and equalize that. We broke the property for 1,000 acres and up, say 750 to 999, and did in different tracts and tried to look at properties that had sold and come up with a lot more common numbers. There was much less disparity between property values. We also looked at the valuation and class of the improvements, and we moved much closer to the market value in a much more uniform manner. We're working with data that's old, and as we move into a new CAMA system, and CAMA's computer-aided mass appraisal, as we move into more computer-modeled appraisals, we have to have our data integrity such that you can do computer modeling. That's something we worked on. So, the 2025 reassessment is the first time in the last 5 cycles that the county reappraised on time. We had previously postponed 1 or 2 years. And the reason that's important is because the closer we are to doing reassessment to the data value, the more credibility we have in our numbers. It's also important for equity and fairness that we try to get everything reappraised on time. And again, it matters particularly when you're trying to get the values consistent with the market. Having the values matched to the market enables the county to have a better credit rating. The difference between the amount of money that the county can borrow versus the total property value affects the credit score and the ability to borrow money. So all of those things were things that we felt were critical to us to try to get the reassessment done on time. I want to compliment all the other departments, financial management. It took a lot of courage to take these numbers and test and work. I know the auditor, Donnie Wade, and the treasurer, Tommy Darby, had to do a lot of work to model and come up with numbers so that they could come before council with confidence and say, you can roll the millage back. So thank you and kudos to you for rolling back the millage, 16 mills. I surveyed all the other counties in South Carolina. Only 2 counties have even come close. York County over the last 4 years rolled their millage back 4 mills over 4 years. You did 16 mills last year, and previous 3 years, we didn't show a millage increase. The only other county in South Carolina that's done anything about rolling their millage back is Berkeley County. And you look at the size of those counties and the amount of infrastructure they have. So it's a compliment to the financial management, a compliment to council to be able to take the information, act on it, and come up with and roll back the millage. And again, that's important to the citizens of Chester. From fairness, when we roll the millage down, that means your vehicle taxes go down, manufacturer's tax go down the same amount. If you've got watercraft or business personal property, all those things reduce because of the millage going down. So it provides a service on a lot of different fronts when we're able to do that. So again, I just wanted to give you kind of an overview, let you know what we did, let you know that we're very pleased, satisfied with the 2025 reassessment, and we've already begun initial thoughts reviewing what we did this year. What can we do for the 2030 reassessment? And so it's not too early to start planning for that. So if you've got any questions or any comments, I'll be happy to address those, but that's what I had to say.
As long as you be fair about it, I can deal with it. Just be fair about it.
We're trying to treat 25,000 pieces of property in Chester exactly the same. So there are different types of property, but we all look at them and say, there's a tax code statutes that say this is how you do it. We try to stick to those, and that's how we assure that we're fair to everybody, is by treating them all exactly the same and following the letter of the law. That's our goal.
I had this question come up the other day that I got asked. You established the assessed value of the property in the county. Do you assess the assessment of the property in the town of Fort Long, is it the same as the assessed value in the county?
Yes, sir. I mean, when you say there's two parts, and everybody uses the terms a little bit differently. The first thing we do is we put fair market value on property. We appraise it at what we think it's worth. So regardless of whether the property is in a municipality in the county, we value it exactly the same. The assessment rate, if it's a 4% for legal residents, 6% for commercial or non-owner occupied, that's uniform throughout the state. The rules for the assessment ratio is exactly the same throughout the state of South Carolina. So yeah, if the property's in the municipality or outside, it should be assessed exactly the same.
So you assess something at $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And they want X number of dollars in their budget. They pass a budget for X number of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mr. Wade
Mm-hmm.
sets that millage to collect that money based on that assessment, on that same assessment you got. Is that how it works?
I think if I understand you take the total value inside the municipal limits of Fort Long. So that total property value times the assessment ratio, you got some 4%, some 6%, and then the auditor's office will take that value and then look at the town of Fort Long's budget and set a millage rate so that it meets the cost of services. But yes, sir, I think that's correct.
Do y'all do the same thing for the city of Chester?
We provide them the information on the fair market value and the assessed value, and their staff sets the millage rate. As I understand it, that would be a good question for Mr. Wade, but I think their staff works in collaboration with the auditor's office to set the millage. But they do use our values.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
I just want to make one comment in council and thank Mr. Anderson and his staff. I mean, what he just went over is a testament to where we've come. Completing the assessment on time without an extension, right?
Yeah,
and,
that's big.
Being able to roll back the millage and doing it in a time frame, working with all the other departments, and I think Mr. Wade will probably talk a little bit about it more, but getting the information out there, trying to educate our citizens this year on what reassessment was, having town hall meetings and being there. And so it's just a true testament. And I do think that we're lucky here in Chester County to have Mr. Anderson. He's fair, he's consistent, arguably fair, and we have many discussions about that, right? And,
yes,
and not, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he's very consistent, and he's we have someone that makes ethical decisions, and I don't worry about his department. He's building a great team, so I'd just like to say thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from council? All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson, for that update. Next up, we've got 10B, which is the end of the year update from our auditor, Donnie Wade.
Well, good evening, council. It's hard to follow that because a lot of what I've got to say is a lot of what he just said. But I wanted to give you just like a brief review of what took place during reassessment in the auditor's office. Of course, you know during the reassessment, many of you get questions for sure, just like I do. And so when the year began, we know each year council has to do the hard work of figuring out the budget, how to fund the budget, and all of that. So in a reassessment year, we had to quickly get those numbers quickly to, or a workable number so that, you know, you could see what you had to work with as far as a budget and all of that. Right after we were able to get those numbers together, we had a quick meeting with the Department of Revenue, who came and did a training for all of us, for Brian, for Tommy, Rick. We also had Fairfield County. They were going through reassessment at the time. The municipalities came. At the time, Malik was with the city. He came representing the city of Chester. And we had representatives pretty much from the other municipalities as well, and the school district. And so that was a very important planned meeting so that everyone knew what the state required us to do as a county as far as reassessment. So we did that. Rick's mentioned, you know, we do that every 5 years. In my opinion, we did a really good job this year. I agree with him. We have a good team here. I've said that to Brian before. You can be very proud of the department leaders in this county. I can't say it's always been that way, but right now we have the best, I think, representing the departments. It was a good collaboration. It was aided by some really good work from each one of you. So what do I mean by that when I say it was aided by some good work by the council? What that means is each one of you got phone calls. In the past, I've been doing this for over 20 years. In the past, I would get a phone call from a council person who would say, "This person's tearing my ear up, you know, what are you going to do about it? I just told them to call you." Well, this time, council was very informed. Council answered a lot of questions. Council referred those to us. We answered those questions in a professional way, and we had extra layers in place. What does that mean? Our communications director, she did videos. I looked around other counties. I didn't see that. We had videos. Those videos were on social media. We got a lot of phone calls from those. We were perfectly fine with that because we could explain what was happening. We also had reappraisal notices that Rick sent out. We also did other videos. Those videos explain what you were going to get with a reappraisal notice. And of course, we had our town hall meetings. That was over the top good. A person would say, "Oh Lord, I don't want a town hall meeting. That'll get everybody stirred up," right? No, that was not your intent. Your intent was to explain it so people understand it, and that's what took place. I appreciate that. We also had our website, had multiple information to do that. All of those are good things that made information available to our citizens. And then, of course, something that really stuck out to me was the fact we sped up our setting of the millage. We did it extra weeks early. When that happened, at first I was like, oh my gosh, how in the world am I going to get these numbers finished in time to do that? But that was another good move by our council, because what it did was it put pressure on the municipalities, on the school district, all of them to say, hey, county's doing what they are supposed to do. If we don't step up, then who's going to look bad? It's going to be us. So it was a collaborative effort. That happened with the city of Chester. I was able to talk with them. I said, hey, look, council's doing what they're supposed to do. School district's doing what they're supposed to do. What you going to do? They responded. Same thing with Great Falls. Even with all of what's going on in Great Falls, they responded. They did the right thing. All of those are things that help not only the county citizens, but the ones within the municipalities. That's a positive thing that happened. All of that was because our council was being proactive. And that was very helpful. Some other things, we were able to increase our credit factor and give off more credit on our bills. That was helpful. Our bills, like Rick said, they were available on time. I can't think of a county, in my experience, I know in years past in reassessment, I had to ask for a delay so we could get everything done in time. We didn't have to do that this year. We were able to get our bills out in time. And that's about what I have, other than just speaking and letting you know, like I said earlier, we have a good team. Tommy Darby is by far one of the best in this state, by far. Rick Anderson is one of the most highly credentialed assessors in this state. I've been at this for a long time. I think our county can be proud of the job that was done collaboratively. So that being said, do you have any questions?
How many years have you been at it?
County auditor?
Yes, sir.
This year makes 20 years. I have 5 years. I worked in the assessor's office for 5 years as an appraiser, and then I worked with Department of Revenue before that. So I've been around the block. I'm getting old, Pete. Getting old.
It happens to all of us.
Happens to all of us, don't it, John? A little bit at a time. But I do. I really do. I want this council to understand one thing for sure. Y'all, when people responded, those people called me, and it wasn't like they were attacking me. It was like they had a specific question that we could give a specific answer to. Now, did they always like the answer? Not always. I will say this. I had a bunch of people that wanted to run me out of town because they were like, oh, gosh, reassessment, Donnie's going to push our taxes out the ceiling. Well, guess what? When they saved money, none of them called me. I don't understand. I've been waiting on that. It hadn't happened yet. Maybe it will now. They see me on a council meeting. They'll say, hey, you know, I ought to call Donnie and say, hey, I shouldn't have been so mean to him. But I'll just wait on that one. How about that? Anything else?
One more thing for you. So, will you set the record straight about other counties that had the rollback this year?
Yes.
Do you know exactly which other counties did that?
Oh,
In addition to Chester County?
that rolled back on their
That
millage?
rolled back, yeah, rolled back on their millage.
Well, let me say it this way. They may have rolled back, but not as far as they were supposed to have rolled back. That's one difference in Chester that I can say. We roll back the amount we were supposed to roll back, as far as we could, like John said, to be able to still balance that budget, you know what I mean, to make that work and not hold something back. That was one thing with the school district. At first they were like, oh, heck no, we're not rolling our millage back. Y'all do what you want to do, you know, but they did after they saw that the council was going to do it. They rolled theirs back even farther. And I can speak very highly of the new finance girl with the, I shouldn't call her girl, woman with the school district. She's worked very closely with us. and that's a plus. We're building some positive relationships with the school district, and so I think that'll help us in the future on some of the bigger things that we need to tackle. So,
Mr. Hester's brought this up before. It cost us $1.41 to provide services. Is that not correct?
Well, that's the state average. I use
State
that
average.
number quite a bit.
So we lose money on every house that comes into Chester County. Is that not right?
That's not just Chester County. That's
I
a
mean, it's
statewide infrastructure average.
So when you say you're not going up on taxes, you have to take a big swallow at that, because somebody's got to pay those other services. And so what you and Mr. Anderson have done has been really good for the citizens of this county, in my opinion.
Right.
There's some people, like you say, that phone rings and
right,
my taxes went up.
right,
And
right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'd just like to say it's, you guys, I don't know, make it easy for us to make the good decisions.
Right.
We have good people out here. You make it, you know, we still get the questions and the calls and the concerns, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
fine. But we have a lot more information. I understand a lot more than I ever did about quite a few topics. But just to say, you know, if it wasn't for you all, this wouldn't run as well either. So I think all of us working together is really good look, and it's a positive for our county. So thank you, all of you. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful for Donnie, Tommy. Of course, Rick works for me, so I'm very thankful for him. But I do. It's a pleasure working together, and I think we made some major accomplishments. And one way you all will see that rollback, when what Donnie just said about how far we roll back, end of year revenue will tell you.
Yeah.
Right? It'll tell you what did we project, and where we at. And don't think that Mr. Darby and I don't go look at those numbers and see kind of where we've fallen, and because we want to make sure we get that right and we don't finish under. I don't care if we finish over, but we don't want to finish under, right, when we do a thing like a rollback.
Correct.
And that's a lot of speculation and projection goes into it. We did a look, Tommy took a look last week. We sat down, and we might have about $5,000 extra. That's about it. So we didn't make any money on this, and that's
It was
a
tight.
good sign. That's sticking to our budget, sticking to our revenue, and rolling back is, we squeezed it, is what we did.
Squeezed it hard,
For the citizens.
extremely hard.
And you guys squeezed it, is what we're getting at.
Right. Yeah, as a citizen outside of council or county auditor, I would feel good as a citizen in this county.
And please, somebody watching, call Donnie and tell him, thank you.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Wade. All right, next up is number 11. 11A is the Catawba Mental Health Board reappointment. Mr. Agee?
Her last name just went out of my brain, but Miss Candy called me the other day and asked me about this. And for the sake of argument, this is the State Department of Mental Health. And nowhere have I ever seen that we have this. I'm not saying that it's not. Oh, I know who it is.
Okay.
But I never knew that we appointed a member to the Catawba Mental Health until she explained it to me. And I still don't quite understand that, how that wasn't on any list that I saw. But she's been on there a long time, hasn't she? And I'm glad to reappoint her. She's an attorney. And so obviously we want to keep her on there, but have y'all ever appointed these folks?
I think we had an
I think we
appointment
have, yeah.
about
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah.
I think it was about a year ago
Have
we
to
had
look
one.
back, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not-
It seems
I'm not-
familiar to me, but I couldn't
But
tell you who they
I'm
are.
glad to do it.
Yeah.
Because I really, really have an interest in mental health and Hazel Pittman and those types of things. So thank you, Ms. Candy, for calling me and letting me know that. But she's been there a long time. Very nice lady.
All right, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
I do.
Okay.
I make a motion that we reappoint Mrs. Virginia Bowman as a member of the Catawba Mental Health Board.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That's, all in favor. All right, next up we have executive session. 12A is the discussion of matters relating to the proposed location, expansion, or the provision of services, encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body as P 2354. B is the same for P 1964. C is a personnel matter regarding project manager. And D is a personnel matter regarding the county administrator dealing with the annual evaluation follow-up. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
All right,